Welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Victoria Mason of the School of Politics and International Relations in the College of Arts and Social Sciences here at the ANU. I'm also one of the co-conveners of the inaugural Australian Arab Women's Dialogue, and we've been very lucky to start the dialogue here in Australia, myself and my colleague Libby Lloyd, who's the other co-convener. It's been an amazing program so far that's been sponsored by AusAid, the ANU, Etihad Airlines and the Council for Australian Arab Relations. And we're very lucky this morning to have one of our fabulous participants, Manal El-Attia. So welcome to Australia, and thank you so much for your role in the dialogue so far.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
So Manal is a very amazing young and dynamic woman who essentially has set up, I guess as I would describe it, one of the first fair trade initiatives within Morocco and arguably in the Middle East. I haven't come across a lot of this, but the first for-profit social enterprise hoping to empower women. So if you can first tell us a little bit about your organisation and the work that it does.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this, and I think being in Australia, this is my first time here, and I'm very excited for this opportunity. And my social enterprise is called Anarouz. And Anarouz is actually in Amazigh, which is the indigenous language of people in Morocco. It means hope. And I think this is, for me, Anarouz was really a shift in vision, really going from this idea of how the power of women in communities, especially in rural communities, and how to turn them into recognized actors driving social change in their own communities. So Anarouz comes with really an enterprise solution in bringing sustainable income to women, artisans, and not just as beneficiaries, but really as true entrepreneurs. So we do this through market access, fair trade, just like you mentioned. So. Yeah.
So what made you decide to go down this path? It's an incredible organisation that you've set up and really unprecedented. So what took you down that path?
Well, I've worked for years in the international development arena and worked with women specifically as well. And every time it was bringing, projects and trainings, and it was great programs, but then there's always an end. And so you see these women that have gone through these trainings, they're empowered, but then they become even more frustrated because there's no sustainability. And in the context where they are and the challenges that they are facing, I don't agree with just, providing this kind of aid and then it ends there. So to me, it started really from sharing the frustration with these women on knowing at the end of the day, it's as simple as how can the woman get the money in her pocket? And I think Anarouz kind of brought this idea of the main thing for us is how can we achieve women economic independence, because we know that's the key not only to women's rights, not only to women's well-being, but really to the whole community. And I think this is something we tend to forget. It has been proven that investing in women and going to once they have the money, they invest it in their family. So to me, it was very important to know that sustainability part. I don't want to help these women just, on one project and that's it. Once the funding is done, then, oh, what now? We have to look for another funding. Really wanted to provide this kind of sustainable way. So even if Anarouz is not here tomorrow, they're still working, they're still getting money.
So really this has shifted the whole way that people have been addressing the issue of women's empowerment in Morocco, moving away from, I guess, a model that there's a lot of criticisms of models that kind of make women humanitarian actors. Yeah. So this is really recognising their agency and saying, well, they have something to contribute. So not just, as you say, doing training courses and empowering them, but actually putting a framework into place where they can thrive themselves.
Yeah, and I think to me what was, back in 2011, I went to this amazing conference. It was with the Fortune Most Powerful Women. And I was in a room full of women owning their power. And I think, to me, that was what's missing in Morocco. That was what's missing in the work that we do. We don't work in partnership with these women and view them as powerful individuals. Because it's all about perception at the end of the day. Because if we perceive them as you know, oh, poor women who are hopeless or are just waiting for help. Of course, that's what's going to happen. But when I come to these women, I tell them, I'm your business partner. And we're going to do this together. We're going to imagine a future together full of possibilities to move forward. And I think this changed completely the way, you know, things move forward. So.
And I think that's what's so wonderful about it, that it really is a partnership, where, as you say, the women are producing, you know, really beautiful, high-quality handicrafts.
Yeah.
And then what you're really doing is facilitating their entry into wider markets. But as you say, it's for profit for everybody.
Yes.
So it really changes that whole framework in which they operate, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's not just about, I think sometimes when we look at different programs, you know, women, access to finance, access to training, it's really a whole chain. And I think people tend to just focus on one thing. And when you focus on one thing, it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. Well, our whole model is about how can we make that whole chain, value chain work, from raw material to production to, you know, just like a real company.
Yes.
But it's different status because you're really working on working in partnership with the women to actually make that chain work. So, and I think the other thing that I don't want this to be, I think a lot of the fair trade, I mean, we've done a lot of campaigns on fair trade and how important it is for people to buy fair trade. But I didn't want it to be just fair trade, yeah, I'm buying these products, you know, because these poor women in this village are making them. But I would like to, for these handicrafts, yes, it is made by these women in, you know, underprivileged areas, yes, but it's beautiful products. And it's something that you're going to buy, but that you're going to want to buy again. And a lot of the times we have this conception of fair trade as being, you know, just poor products. And I think to us at Ana Rose, it's about bringing, you know, products and handicrafts that are handmade, but that are high quality and that are nice designs that kind of really bring not only the pure traditional, but traditional and answering what the market wants, whether it is Australia or the US or Europe. So. And
what has been the reaction to this in Morocco with other people, you know, working in, I mean, how have other people responded, and do you think that this might spread to other areas?
Well, what's interesting is that the whole for-profit social enterprise, the whole model, it's not common, you know. I'm really leading this, and it's very interesting because people can't understand. We have this tendency of thinking, okay, NGO volunteering, you know, we don't business, it's to really make money, but to bring these two together, I think. Then this is something that I am also doing, is to bring awareness about the importance of social entrepreneurship, because social entrepreneurship at the end, it's really you bring in social change, but you're using business skills, entrepreneurship values to bring sustainability, because it's not enough to just bring, you know, to bring change to a small area, but how do you scale it? And we've seen this with NGOs, with the international organization. It's really about scaling. You can have a pilot and something works great, but if it's not benefiting more people. So at Ana Rose, it's really about a whole system change. And I think in Morocco, it's people are, you know, want to learn more. And I think we're in the very beginning of starting a social entrepreneurship movement. So.
Lovely. And in terms of that empowerment of women, I mean, one of the things this dialogue has been aiming to do is show the diversity of women in the Middle East, and how dynamic women are, and really start to challenge some of those stereotypes people have of women in the Middle East as, you know, poor, oppressed women that need the help of outsiders, which for those of us who work in the Middle East and North Africa, we know that that's not the reality. Yes, there are absolutely challenges facing women, as there are here in the West, but the situation is actually far more complex and multi-layered. And so I'm interested in your view, well, for the viewers, interested in your views on those issues.
Yeah, and I think you, thank you for bringing this up, and really specifically for this Arab Australian dialogue. people tend to think of the Arab world as this chunk of, you know, a piece there, and I think we forget the diversity within each country. You know, North Africa, Middle East, countries in each of these different regions, but also the diversity within the country. I think, like in Morocco, it's not just, you know, Arabs. There's also Amazigh and Sahrawi. I mean, there's so many. It's so diverse, and women in Morocco, I think. People have this tendency to think that Islam, you know, in Muslim countries, there's women oppression. And it's very unfortunate because it's not, the patriarchal cultures I think that we live in have shaped this and turned it into the way it is. But in Morocco, there's a huge shift because the whole government, and there's a really great initiative to push women forward. And I think this is different than some other countries. There is an actual political, you know, will to have women in different places, although we're still, just like any other country, still falling behind. I mean, although women are very, very excellent in education, and there's more women that go to school, but once they reach the career, that's it. You know, the level goes completely down. We don't see any women in leadership positions.
Okay.
And so, but in general, I think there's a very, women have their rights in terms of really just if you know, in the city, for instance, if you want to go and walk and wear a skirt or whatever you want, you can do it. And I think sometimes we have this tendency to think that we are all in burqas or we are all oppressed. And even people in burqas, I mean, I think some women choose to wear the scarf, and it's okay if she wants to wear the scarf. And I think we discussed this earlier. I think cultures are very different, and people have to respect that.
So, just to finish, I mean, in terms of, I mean, as you said, the context is very different depending on the country, and Morocco, like all the other countries that we've been looking at, is very unique in its context. I mean, what would you say are the biggest successes and challenges for particularly young women in Morocco?
I think, I mean, I don't want to be biased, but women are very hardworking, and the trend in Morocco is that they're very successful at school. The challenges for young women is that there is a high pressure from society that they get married, that they have kids. I think that this is universal. But what happens is once they get to their career, they're already thinking, you know, I have to get married and I have to have kids. So there's a really huge drawback. And there's also this perception that a woman a certain age, you know, should not be doing as much, you know. For the case of, I mean, thank God I have a very supportive husband, very supportive family. But I think the challenges of young women is how can they, you know, drive their ambitions and become who they want to become without these pressures in society. How do you deal with this shift, and also with the relationship with the man? How can men now, because women are more in the workforce, accept that women can be independent, can be powerful, and really can drive the change they want? So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you as part of the dialogue, and I wish you the very best in your enterprises.
Thank you for doing this. This is really amazing opportunity to be in Australia. So.